So we are LAMP. LAMP is an acronym, Life and Asset Management Using PropTech. And well, the name already says what we're doing. We are asset managers. Why we chose asset management is because if you look at the whole life cycle of a building, well, the major load on well everything actually resource use, money, expenses, all those kind of things are actually in the operational phase. We spend a lot of time and effort and money and knowledge on designing good buildings, but then it kind of stops. And again, there's a lot of things you can gain by, well, managing the assets in the right way. And a second thing I really like are options. And I do mean real options, where you have to see that an option is something you can do, but you don't have to do. It's really a choice. And well, of course, financial options are very known. You have the call and the put option. For instance, a call option, then you can actually, well, buy something at a predetermined time and for a predetermined price, but you don't have to. That's a financial option. Well, a real option is a bit different. A real option, well, it concerns something that's real, some physical underlying asset where you have, well, options on. And those options are, generally speaking, to expand, abandon, wait, contract, and switch. It's what asset management is all about. I give you some examples, just like you see this little small house in between the two big buildings. Well, it has a huge option to expand, because from a legislative point of view, you would be able to actually fill this whole void and have additional apartments. So you have an option to expand. And well, maybe you should take that into account when you're buying that or selling that property. This is a bit more specific, but this is actually what they call a dual fuel burner, where you can actually have the choice between using gas or natural gas or using fuel. And well, that would give you the option to switch. It gives you it enables you to take a choice between, okay, I'm going to heat using natural gas, or I'm going to use fuel to generate heat, whatever. The other one, and we saw that with COVID, I was a bit surprised, but it was very, well, it was a very famous picture actually in Belgium, where you see that actually airlines are leasing their engines. And within the contract, they have, well, they have an option to abandon, where they can say, okay, we don't need the engines for now, just store them for us and we will not pay for them. So they have an option to return the engines. They cannot use it, of course, but they have the option to abandon and to just say, okay, we don't need them for now. Just take them back. We won't pay. And afterwards, we take them back. So during COVID, of course, that was a huge financial advantage, never been seen before. But exercising the option to abandon was a huge financial benefit. That's also why in LAMP we are saying life and asset management using PropTech. That's also why we like PropTech. PropTech, like reservation systems, parking systems, all kind of energy management systems, are actually generating these options. It gives us the option to expand, gives us the option to switch, gives us some insights, some actions we can take during management that will actually hopefully gain us money or optimize our asset from a sustainable point of view. And the biggest thing is, and that was really what my research was about, is how to value them. Hey, how can we actually go and value those options, and how can we take them into account when making an investment decision, in my case, in smart technology? Because I can prove that PropTech and smart technology actually will generate options, and those options need to be valued because they represent real money. But of course, it's not all about the money. We all know that. It's about sustainability. That's what investors really like. It all has to be sustainable. Well, they should and will be in the future. That's also why the whole smart technology idea, I expanded with the sustainability. Why? Because from an academics point of view, if you talk about a smart building, the first thing in the definition of smart is that it needs to be sustainable. And it's not really only sustainable as from the idea of well, the trees and the plants and everything that needs to be green. It's really about those three factors. It's about the environment, it's about economics, and it's about social. And well, or better known as people, planet, and profit. But I don't really like those terms, so I keep it with the economic, environmental, and social, which is actually what sustainability is all about. It's not just like, oh, it all has to be green and some greenwashing going on, and well, it's not sustainable because it's short term. You really need something that's also from an economic point of view makes sense and enables you to do stuff. And that's why you have the European taxonomy. The European taxonomy, well, the thing was in Europe, you didn't really know. You had the green bonds, green loans, everything was green. Even the Hulk was green. It really is. Um, but so, but what is green? What is sustainable? When can you call a financial product? When can you call an asset? When can you use the term green without, well, basically lying? And well, some very intelligent people started thinking about that and came up with a definition, which is still work in progress. It's ever evolving. Like, okay, but what do we need to do with nuclear power plants? Is it green? Isn't it green? How should we take that into account? What do we do with electric cars? Are they green? Are they not? So it's work in progress. It's not yet finished. You can follow. You have a EU taxonomy compass, which actually gives you some insight in, okay, in which sector we use which definition for being green, being sustainable. But well, you have three main things. The one is, well, you have one of the six environmental objectives: climate change mitigation, adaptation, sustainable and protection of water and marine resources, transition to circular economy. We'll zoom in on that one. Pollution prevention and control and protection and restoration of biodiversity and ecosystems. You should, to be sustainable, have one of those in mind as a goal. And then you have the do no significant harm objective. That is, you cannot choose one and then just sacrifice the other ones to make the one look better. So you have to find some kind of stable comparison between every factor. So you can focus on one, but you cannot do it well at all prices concerning the other ones. So that's something to take into account. And then a third one is really about social safeguards, where you also need to take into account that you don't go and optimize for instance, circular economy, but do it at the cost of very cheap labor where you exploit people. So that makes sense. So the EU taxonomy is really about defining what is sustainable, what is green, how can we use the terminology. And as said, I will focus on the circular economy because that's for sure something I've studied, and I have a lot of, well, the most examples. And I come back to the circularity ladder, where you see to become more sustainable, well, you have to get into these kind of things. So somebody really made fun of finding words with the R, and we go from R0 being the best thing you can do from a resource point of view, up until, well, recover, where you say, okay, at least do that one. So it's refuse, rethink, reduce, reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, and recover. And that without practicing, I'm very proud of myself. So the first one is refuse. And refuse is turning a product redundant by canceling its function or by substituting it with a radically different product. For example, let's go towards the virtual office. We replace the physical office by the virtual office, And from that, from a resource perspective, there are other factors to consider, but from a resource perspective, it makes sense. It's better than, for instance, well, traveling for a 2-hour meeting using a plane. I once flew to Washington, did a 2-hour meeting, and came back. That was company policy. They found that normal. And well, it could have been in a virtual environment, the metaverse, if you want. And well, it would have been as good, I'm sure of it. Well, so refusing, like, well, replacing it with something else to fill in the same functionality, that's of course the most, well, the most interesting thing to do. Another thing you can do is rethink, intensify the product use. Well, let's do the reservation. If you have a reservation system and you have meeting rooms, you have a lot of meeting rooms, well, know that about 40% of the time your meeting rooms are not used. So why not open them up, try to cluster them and open them up as workspaces where people from outside of your organization, outside of your company, can use them. I've done a case study from Den Haag where we actually looked at, okay, what is within the pipeline to construct from office space, square meters of office space, and how many meeting rooms do we have from a security point of view, from a technology point of view, how can we adapt those meeting rooms that they become accessible as flexible workspaces. And well, we noticed that from that we could save about roughly about 11% of the to construct square meters, so we could avoid constructing them. And of course, for the ones that own the square meters already, well, they have more revenue. Airbnb is really about, okay, I have empty space and let's not build an hotel. Let's use the room that's already there and make money out of that one. Uber, I have a car. My car is parked, I think, roughly 22 hours a day. The car is parked. So why not use my car as an Uber car and well, use the resources at the maximum? That's really what it is about. You could also, of course, reduce, and then energy is the most well, the most famous example. Why not start, well, using smart ready appliances where we can actually do demand side management, where we do demand response, where we can go and steer all the assets in function of our own production or production elsewhere that is or isn't renewable, but also reducing the energy consumption. That's what it is about. I will not use them all. I will do reuse again, like eBay. eBay, from a sustainability point of view, it makes sense. We also have, like in Belgium, it's called kringloopwinkels, so reuse material stores where you can actually bring in your old stuff and people come and collect it and use it again, give it a second life. A bit what all the second-hand market is aiming for. From a sustainability, from a resource perspective, it makes sense. Well, overall, actually, I have to say, within the circular economy, there's a business model, and it's called product service systems, where you really shift towards, well, an as-a-service offering. And the as-a-service offering, it's really about operational efficiency, making the product last longer, use it more intensively, and try to replace it with other products. That's exactly what technology can bring you within buildings. From operational efficiency, measure, take decisions from the data, exercise the options you have, take some decisions. That's what you do. Your product will live longer. You have a more intense use of it, of the resources that are being used to create, for instance, a furnace or a kitchen or a table or whatever. And well, go from there. Use it. That's in every business case. It makes sense to do that, to manage to the max the resources that are being used. Now, from an environmental point of view, we had quite some examples already. Economic point of view, I think I do not really have to explain, but of course, the more you use it, the more revenue you generate, the better it gets used. the sooner you can, well, maybe replace or reconsider, uh, detect other needs, avoid investments. So that makes sense. Well, still the social part is a bit lacking. And social is very important because the future is social. It's what every millennial and the generations afterwards will tell you. Uh, they're discussing about work-life balance. They want transparency and they want to collaborate with each other in some kind of form. It doesn't have to be in real life, but okay. Transparency is key, and sustainability for them. It's not just some hype or some vague concept. It's really something they want to live. That's also why the ecosystem is huge. You have I just took a picture from Google, to be honest, but you have a lot of solutions for like everything that gets you connected, interacting with each other, lifestyle magazine, fitness apps, weight loss apps, whatever. So the ecosystem is rife. Coming back to, but what's in it for us from a workplace perspective, from an asset management perspective? Why is that sustainability that important? Well, because in the end, we do have shareholders, we do have some investments that need to be made, and we all have products we want to create. And investors, together with the EU taxonomy defining what is sustainable and going from those economic, environmental, and social insight, well, they said we're going to enforce the sustainability. It's not really enforcing, but I don't know another word. It's like with gently, though firmly, suggesting that you have to do it. So enforcing, that's the word. So we have ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And what did the European Union said? They said, like, okay, if you want to invest, you have the duty, the real duty, so the fiduciary duty, as it's called, to check at least the environmental, the social, and the governance aspects, factors of the thing you're investing in. It can be an asset, it can be a company, it can be whatever. So ESG is actually driving the money tap. It's actually opening up or closing the stream of money. That's how they enforce sustainability, and it will only rise in the future. It will be more and more specific, and it will be more and more steering where the money goes, and where the money goes, things happen. So if I make a summary, then I say the future is social, and you want to win the war for talent, for sure. If you don't win the war for talent, you don't have the people that will make you rich, that will generate real economic value for your company. For that war of talent, for the current and the next generation, sustainability is important, and the work environment is key. We have had people that came to work with us below what other companies were able or wanted to pay for them, because we work in a very stimulating environment. So we have the generations, the war for talent. We want to win the war for talent. How do we do it? Because sustainability is in our nature. And the EU taxonomy, that's the one defining what sustainable is all about. I claim, and I can prove, that technology impacts economic, environmental, and social factors, being the definition of sustainability. And from those factors also generate options, money-making options, investment choices. Investors need to check environmental, social, and governance factors before they invest. And preferably, of course, they want to invest in companies that are generating real economic value, because the real economic value, that's what drives them to invest. So again, if they're investing in companies that make the most real economic value, that means that they will invest in people or in companies that win the war for talent because they're sustainable. And the sustainability comes from the EU taxonomy, which again is driven or controlled by technology, and the circle is round. So investing in technology is actually driving the success of your company by lowering the threshold to invest, attracting money, attracting people to work. Happy cows give more milk. It's proven. It's actually a scientific fact. I checked. And limiting the impact on future resources, being sustainable. So that's actually what it's about. That's the whole cycle. That's what sustainability and money and how it's linked together with technology, being a smart building. Now we have to help investors, especially investors, building owners, portfolio managers. You know what I mean with investors. Um, well, in certifying, condensing all those informations into a comparable scoring. That's not that easy. That's also like we have this is one of our co-workings. It's Albert in Brussels. So what we did is we took a lot of initiatives, but we weren't there yet. We needed more money to say, okay, we really want to optimize the functioning of this co-working, and we want to go the next step. So not the okay, we will save energy, we will save you 10,000 euros of energy a year, so I can now spend 50,000 euros because that's 20%. No, not that reasoning, but really like, yeah, we want trees, we want more interaction room. We want all those things you cannot really grasp and cannot really calculate, but you know they have an impact. We chose the smart building certification. Of course, we were the first gold certificate in Belgium. Still going for platinum someday, but the overview really gave us the tools to go towards the owners of the building, because we're not the owners, we're only asset managers, and say, okay, let's go that extra mile. Let's see how close we are to the target. Let's really focus on those issues, on those perspectives, and push further on the building. And we did get some investment money without the classical way of really going and determining, okay, this will be the ROI we guarantee you with our blood and with the firstborn son. So it's really not necessary if you have, tooling that gives you some insights. Last but not least, know that we're also measuring emotions. We know that social is that important that we are now also trying to see. So we have the smart building certificate. We knew we could improve on stuff, but like user behavior and it's difficult to grasp. And what we actually did is we started looking like, okay, what can we do? And then we came across Melina, which is also my wife, so that's quite easy to come across to. But she's a neuroscientist, applied to architecture. And she said, yeah, but I can measure emotions. And I'm a real engineer, so I'm like, okay, measure emotions. That sounds interesting. We did. And we're actually now trying to see already at the design stage, when we do a mock-up in virtual reality, what is the emotional state that a design will generate for people? How can we optimize from that? So we're now doing the data science to crunch the data and to actually go and predict, hopefully, how we can get from gold to platinum, but also much more, how can we avoid making mistakes, and how can we actually generate data and measure what is going on in our workspaces. So, in summary, show me the data. Even more, data is everything. It makes things objective. It makes it comparable. But we have to, cut it up in pieces, make it somehow comprehensive for people that are not daily using it. And, for sure, certification is a way to do that.